am an American, free-born and free-bred, where I acknowledge no man as my superior, except for his worth, or as my inferior, except for his demerit. The only man who never makes mistakes is the man who never does anything. No, the man should receive $1 unless that dollar has been fairly earned. Do what you can with what you have where you are. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows, in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on. Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, difficulty. I have never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I have envied a great many people who led difficult lives and led them well. To announce that there must be no criticism of the president, or that we are to stand by the president, right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, but is morally treasonable to the American publicate. To educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace to society. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president or any other public official, save exactly to the degree in which he stands by the country. It is patriotic to support him insofar as he efficiently serves the country. It is unpatriotic not to oppose him to the exact extent that by inefficiency or otherwise he fails in his duty to stand by the country. In either event, it is unpatriotic not to tell the truth, whether about the president or anyone else. Knowing what's right doesn't mean much unless you do what's right. Keep your eyes on the stars and your feet on the ground. If you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month. Here is your country. Cherish these natural wonders, cherish the natural resources, and cherish the history and romance as a sacred heritage for your children and your children's children. Do not let selfish men or greedy interests skin your country of its beauty, its riches, or its romance. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Courage is not having the strength to go on. It is going on when you don't have the strength. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in the gray twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat. Speak softly and carry a big stick. You will go far. I am a part of everything that I have read. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. The things that will destroy America are prosperity at any price, peace, safety first instead of duty first, and love of soft living, and the get-rich-quick theory of life. Every immigrant who comes here should be required within 5 years to learn English or leave the country. Whenever you are asked if you can do a job, tell him, "Certainly, I can." Then get busy and find out how to do it. A vote is like a rifle. Its usefulness depends upon the character of the user. Never throughout history has a man who lived a life of ease left a name worth remembering. A man who has never gone to school may steal a freight car, but if he has a university education, he may steal the whole railroad. In the first place, we should insist that if the immigrant who comes here in good faith becomes an American and assimilates himself to us, he shall be treated exact equality with everyone else, for it is an outrage to discriminate against any such man because of creed or birthplace or origin, but this is predicated upon the person's becoming in every facet an American, and nothing but an American. There can be no divided allegiance here. Any man who says he is an American, but something else also, isn't an American at all. We have room for but one flag, the American flag. We have room for but one language here, and that is the English language. And we have room for but one sole loyalty, and that is loyalty beside to the American people. When you play, play hard. When you work, don't play at all. No man needs sympathy because he has to work. After all, he has a burden to carry. Far and away the best prize that life offers is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. The best executive is the one who has enough to pick good men to do what he wants to be done, and self-restraint to keep from meddling with them while they do it. When they call the roll in the Senate, the senators do not know whether to answer present or not guilty. If you've got them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow. To waste, to destroy our natural resources, to skin and exhaust the land instead of using it to increase its usefulness, will result in undermining in the days of our children the very prosperity which we ought by right to hand down to them amplified and developed. The reason fat men are good-natured is they can neither fight nor run. In this country, we have no place for hyphenated Americans. We despise and abhor the bully, the brawler, the oppressor, whether in private or public life, but we despise no less the coward and the voluptuary. No man is worth calling a man who will not fight rather than submit to infamy or see those that are dear to him suffer wrong. The credit belongs to those who are actually in the arena, who strive valiantly, who know the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spend themselves on a worthy cause, who at best knows the triumph of high achievement, and who, at worst, if they fail while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. If given the choice between righteousness and peace, I choose righteousness. It is not often that a man can make opportunities for himself, but he can put himself in such shape that when or if the opportunities come, he is ready. Character, in the long run, is the decisive factor in the life of an individual and of nations alike. There is not a man of us who does not at times need a helping hand to be stretched out to him, and then shame upon him who will not stretch out the helping hand to his brother. No man is justified in doing evil on the ground of expediency. Be practical as well as generous in your ideals. Keep your eyes on the stars, but remember to keep your feet on the ground. Our aim is not to do away with corporations, On the contrary, these big aggregations are an inevitable development of modern industrialism, and the effort to destroy them would be futile unless accomplished in ways that would work the utmost mischief to the entire body politic. We can do nothing of good in the way of regulating and supervising these corporations until we fix clearly in our minds that we are not attacking the corporations, but endeavoring to do away with any evil in them. We are not hostile to them, we are merely determined that they shall be so handled as to subserve the public good. We draw the line against misconduct, not against wealth. Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people. To destroy this invisible government, to befoul the unholy alliance between corrupt business and corrupt politics, is the first task of the statesmanship of today. Far and away the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean standing by the president or any other public official. Wide differences of opinion in matters of religious, political, and social belief must exist if conscience and intellect alike are not to be stunted if there is to be room for healthy growth. Only those are fit to live who do not fear to die, and none are fit to die who have shrunk from the joy of life and the duty of life. Both life and death are parts of the same great adventure. I am only an average man, but by George, I work harder at it than the average man. A great democracy has got to be progressive, or it will soon cease to be great or a democracy. Order without liberty and liberty without order are equally destructive. Women should have free access to every field of labor which they care to enter, and when their work is as valuable as that of a man, it should be paid as highly. I am a strong individualist by personal habit, inheritance, and conviction, but it is a mere matter of common sense to recognize that the state, the community, and the citizens acting together can do several things better than if they were left to individual action. 90% of the work in this country is done by people who don't feel good. I put myself in the way of things happening, and they happen. The teachings of the Bible are so interwoven and entwined with our whole civic and social life that it would be impossible for us to figure out what that life would be if the teaching were removed. I care not what others think of what I do, but I care very much about what I think of what I do. That is a beside character. There is a delight in the hardy life of the open. There are no words that can tell the hidden spirit of the wilderness, that can reveal its mystery, its melancholy, and its charm. The nation behaves well if it treats the natural resources as assets that must turn over to the next generation increased and not impaired in value. Conservation means development as much as it does protection. The nation behaves well if it treats its natural resources as assets which it must turn over to the next generation increased and not impaired in value. All the resources we need are in the mind. The death knell of the Republic had rung as soon as the active power became lodged in the hands of those who sought not to do justice to all citizens, rich and poor alike, but to stand for one special class and its interests as opposed to the interests of others. Complaining about a problem without posing a solution is called whining. This country will not be a good place for any of us to live in unless we make it a good place for all of us to live in. Although not a very old man, I have yet lived a great deal in my life, and I have known sorrow too bitter, and joy too keen to allow me to become either cast down or elated for more than a very brief period over any success or defeat. People ask the difference between a leader and a boss. The leader works in the open, and the boss is covert. The leader leads, and the boss drives. It is true of the nation, as of the individual, that the greatest doer must also be a great dreamer. The lack of power to take joy in outdoor nature is as real a misfortune as the lack of power to take joy in books. There is quite enough sorrow and shame and suffering and baseness in real life, and there is no need for meeting it unnecessarily in fiction. To announce that there must be no criticism of the president, or that we are to stand by the president, right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, but is morally treasonable to the American publicate. The only man who never makes a mistake is the one who never does anything. We should not forget that it will be just as important to our descendants to be prosperous in their time as it is to us to be prosperous in our time. A man's usefulness depends upon his living up to his ideals insofar as he can. It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed. All daring and courage, all iron endurance of misfortune make for a finer, nobler type of manhood. Only those are fit to live who do not fear to die, and none are fit to die who has shrunk from the joy of life and the duty of life. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who at the best knows, in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. Of all the questions which can come before this nation, short of the actual preservation of its existence in a great war, none compares in importance with the great central task of leaving this land even a better land for our descendants than it is for us. Our government, national and state, must be freed from the sinister influence or control of special interests, exactly as the special interests of cotton and slavery threatened our political integrity before the Civil War. So now the great special business interests too often control and corrupt the men and methods of government for their profit. We must drive the special interests out of politics